All right, we're now reading Homestuck, Exponent 2 or whatever. I've heard it's awful. I'm excited to see how far we can actually know. All right. Somewhere in the distant reaches of space. Hey, Derek. You doing all right there, champ? You are doing good? Surprise, bitch. I bet that there was a moment just now when you thought to yourself, oh, thank God. Thank the maker. Thank literally what the hell ever re recalcitrant entity was, is now, or perhaps always has been responsible for plotting this story. Whoever it is, whose cataclysmic fingers hang suspended and quivering with anticipation somewhere beyond the curtain of the world, whose hunched form lurks forever in the shadows, its work seemingly unimpeded by the very real threat of the chronic lumbago, making no sound, giving no speech to thought, save for the fateful moments when first one elongated phalanx and then another crosses the threshold between thought and reality, when 10 declamatory digits, possessed for the moment of a zealous frenzy, reach down and set the air stir with the heart-rending captive cacophony of an overly rambunctious mechanical keyboard. Whichever accursed species of demiurgic figure that is, you thought, let's just thank the ever-living fuck that this time they decided to call it a night and get out the drawing tablet instead. Finally, this story's back on the rails. Maybe we can get back to what things were like in the good old days, where boys were brave, girls were guileful, authors were illiterate, and in various dubious states of double death. And this comic made at least a little bit of sense to more or less everybody. No more dealing with narrators, unreliable or not. No more embittered scrimmages over the bounding metafictional reality within which everything transpires. No more stupid tang-tinted text. Your collective sigh of relief is deafening. Well, tough shit. This story, Derek. What are you doing in there? Ah, fuck. Hang on. Gotta take care of this. Rose's voice echoes tinnily out of my narrowly alchemized, computer-integrated shades. The infidelity of the transmission is due to her voice being slightly too high definition for the speakers to reproduce it faithfully. There's an audio format even better than analog, it turns out, and that's what replaced Voice's vocal cords when I scooped up her rapidly dissipating soul and installed it in a robot body. I have an authority that decanting is sometimes necessary to ensure a wine is at its best. I like to think that the same was ultimately true of her. Oh, nothing important. To the extent that anything that you or I do is even capable of being unimportant anymore, which extent is admirably teetering a few microns shy of Jack Dick right now. The point is, don't worry about it. I'm just doing a bit of housekeeping. Well, pardon me for interrupting a prior engagement. Don't let me get in the way of all the dusting you must be doing. I just imagine you wearing an apron over your god-tier outfit and almost felt my facial face ludge buckle in such a way as to approximate a fleeting smile. Fuck, you got me. Your uncanny seer powers are at work again. I'm just waiting here for an errant gust of wind to jostle my petticoats, unfortuitously exposing my undergarments to the lurid gaze of whatever purent peeper might be watching. Don't look, I cry in futile embarrassment, but the damage is done. My fragile anime purity has been shamelessly violated. Ah, yes, the animes, a bottomless resource of good-natured humor. That ungodly noise of screeching metal you just heard was my titanium-reinforced thorax crumpling into a cartoonish posture of helpless mirth. Although we get it. You are literally a robot. Nor do you need to keep pointing it out every chance you can get. I used to get enough of this with the autoresponder. I'm just playing along. One of the fundamentals of bad science fiction is just any artificial beings must make their inorganic nature known at every juncture they can. Do overly precise and completely meaningless statistics that you can pull out of your ass on the fly also count? Oh, absolutely. That's one of the first things you just sort of spontaneously learn when being booted up. For example, I've calculated that by making these remarks, I have raised the base level of amusement in all my conversations by 36%. Well, I don't personally find them very funny. No, but I do. It averages out, you see. I'm looking at the pots right now, and one of them just kind of seems like someone took some nuggets and just put it in like a pot. Like, I'm pretty sure that's an actual flower, but it for some reason just looked like nuggets to me. And someone was like, "Yeah, no, that's plant enough." Homestuck Beyond Canon Bingo. Oh, I am very interested to see how everything's gonna go. Okay, but like, what are you actually calling me about? I just thought you might like to know about that. We're getting pretty close to your chosen crash site. We can head down to the planet below as soon as Terezi's finished working out how we do that, how to land. Wait, crash site. Yes. Among the features of this ship that were considered indispensable by its creator, which included multiple fully stocked drink cabinets, a movie theater, and an 8-lane shooting range. Landing gear appears to have fallen just a little outside of the realm of vital, or rather, hurtled into the ground, like we'll be doing, in case the message wasn't clear. Ah, gotcha. God damn it, English. Assuming your busy work is more or less done by now, I'll get Terezi to set a course if she hasn't wandered away from the helm already. She's been getting pretty impatient. So, I just want to get this on complete lockdown before I strap myself into the safety harness we'd all better hope weren't also omitted from the design schematic of this stupid ship. We're letting Terezi smash us into the planet we've been hunting for 3 years. Should she even be driving this thing? Don't be such a chud, Dirk. Of the three of us, she has by far the most experience operating any kind of flying vessel, and just as much, if not more, experience of crashing them. Besides, it's not like the two of us have anything to worry about. It's Terezi that needs to be careful. She's functionally immortal, remember? You mean to say that you don't think we'd be in peril if it came to it? There's something about our situation that strikes you as falling within the balance of security as far as the rules are connected? Oh, you're right. I suppose I hadn't thought of that. But I think we can remain calm in the knowledge that nothing particularly heroic is going to happen right now. At least not that I'm aware of. Right. Give me a couple more minutes here, then we can head planet side. There's a few stray dust motes still need to eradicate. Just don't get too attached to having everything organized neatly, will you? Rose signs off the call without much fuss. She knows that I'm not really cleaning, but doesn't care enough to know what I'm actually doing. I know that she knows this, but I don't care enough that she knows, nor do I care that she doesn't give a shit. We're all just here not giving a flying fuck like a normal functioning group of people. I walk. Oh no, right. I don't have to do that explicitly. It's easy to get into the habit of just narrating everything, even when it's a bit creatively redundant. This is where the advantage of visuals comes in, to make my life as omniscient overseer a bit less tedious. I can just do whatever, and we can all see it happen, and nobody has to fight with a testy cherub lady for control of their own legs or anything. No need to pull a whole thesaurus out of my ass just so I can go to the bathroom. Seriously, it's a big relief. That doesn't mean this, gestures to the narrative, isn't still going to be a thing, though. Sometimes retreating back into the warm, welcoming folds of traditional prose is just going to be the best way forward. And as someone whose mind is uniquely capable of understanding this conceit? I think that's conceit. I'll be the determining factor as to when and where it happens. I think that's more than reasonable. And yes, I am capable of being reasonable. All in all, I think you'll find, as far as narrators go, I'm an excellent. On second thought, maybe that's a bit problematic phrase. Yeah, yikes, that gets a sordid history. Best we steer clear of it. We're all lucky I'm around to make those kinds of sensitivity judgments on everyone's behalf. Speaking of which, I think it's time I started undoing some of the more erroneous mistakes the story has been subjected to over the years. Yes, I'm talking about that guy, the other orange one. Remember him? Vriska got stalked by him a bit, and it was uncomfortable for everyone concerned. Anyway, the point is that he fucked up big time, and I'm here to clean up the horse shit. It's time to get the story back on the rails, back to what it was always supposed to be. I know it, and you've somehow always known it too. There's something else, some other route that Homestuck was meant to take, but then didn't. A way that would have spent so much time digging around with stuff nobody cares about. Like, seriously, why did we all have to sit through talking about everyone's most intimate and private feelings for 200,000 fucking words? That would never have happened in Act 1. Where did it all go wrong? I'm going to keep this going, but I already have something to say about that. I've had some time to think about those kinds of problems and come up with a solution, and I'm prepared to do what he couldn't in order to save Paradox Space from the destruction brought upon itself. I'll do what it takes, and don't think I won't. The author is dead. Long live the author. Look, I know what you're all really craving. I've been studying canon, or rather, what's left of it. And I think I've found it. The critical moment in the wake of which everything started to take a nosedive into the protracted, endless slog of sheer insufferability we got saddled with near the end. This was the most crucial error in the process that led to the present situation. The day when the story was wrested screamed from the arms of the readers like a bawling infant and carried helplessly away. From then on, to be raised according to the whims of a masochistic menace with no thought of you, the common fan. So now I propose we turn the clock back to a better era, and take back what was rightfully ours. No longer will the way forward be subjected to tyrannical rule. No more shall the will of the masses be cajoled and browbeated by the impervious nasty diktat. Never again will we have to endure the terrible beatings of wings as the great moth of titulation arrests the humors of an enormous, terrible old beggar, whose vulturous, leathery vice grip holds us close and whispers, I know best, in the dead of the night. It's time. My name is Dirk Strider. What will I do? Suggest commands in the box above. Dirk Strider. Okay, that's enough. All right. I already don't like what the author's doing. I'm pretty sure this is like referencing the whole people used to be able to say what they wanted to happen in Homestuck. You know, they could type in prompts or whatever. And Hussey would just choose one if I'm remembering correctly. I think this is stupid. I can understand people liked that aspect of the story. That was pretty cool. I think Hussey eventually phasing that out was probably for the best. Because if we kept going down that route, I don't think we would have gotten as good of a story as we did. Because you are now trying to work with the random whims of a lot of people. They forgot a plot point, wasted potential. They wouldn't do that. Obvious fetishes, obvious cool moment. Why do they do that? Ruin dynamic, cool moment, miscommunication nonsense. They wouldn't do that. Why? Heavily handed nostalgia baiting. That's what we got. Nostalgia baiting. So this is gonna be, as we all expected, this is gonna be me speaking my thoughts on this, but also trying to get through this. I have actually heard someone say, like, the first, like, I think 4 or 5 acts of Homestuck are the best are like the best, like, it's the best story ever. But then after, like when chapter 6 starts or whatever, they call it the worst writing. Or like it's not that good. It's like okay. I remember that the trolls weren't introduced until Act 5. And I think the idea that the first few acts were just this amazing piece of work that it's obvious why Homestuck is considered the best thing ever. I think it's kind of bullshit. I think truly the writing becomes great not at the start of Act 5. It's a little, I think, after one of the trolls is introduced, because you start, it's more the dynamics, more of the conversations they have, or at least to me, where before the trolls were just kind of like there, whatever, sometimes causing a ruckus. And the dialogue between the human characters, sometimes fun, but I think it was only a bit after Act 5 starts that we start getting like some of the best moments in it. And it's just because you're able to flesh out these relationships. You're able to, or relationships are being like fleshed out more. They start having a lot more conversations. You learn more about the trolls, so like interactions start meaning more. And I think when they start to get out of the whole timeline shenanigans of like how they have conversations, I think that's when the dialogue becomes its best, when they're able to just talk to each other, and there is no weird like trying to remember what part of the conversation you're on. No, they're legitimately just talking to each other, so they can bullshit each other in real time and just have some good moments. And I do think Act 6 did take a step back by having nothing but the 4 new humans, and their interactions were they're only okay. I think Homestuck will always be at its strongest when we get like the interactions between the species, or at least 2 different groups of people together. So like John so like John's group talking to, fuck, I already forgot his name. But what was the guy's name? He was the adventurer dude, who didn't know what he was doing. Jake, thank you, Jake. Like when you have those 2 groups talking together, it's good. It's a good time because you are working on these differences, and I don't know. I just think the dialogue is at its best when you have these people just from like different eras or groups or species or eras just talking to each other. I think that's when it's at its best. I still love the joke of Carcat trying to draw like the calendar for when they're going to try to share Terezi, and Dave is just like, no, nope. Just grabs his hand, starts drawing a bunch of penises on the page. Like, bro, why are you drawing penises? Like, let go of me. Like, that's still probably one of my favorite scenes. And Carcat's just trying to make things work. He's being real genuine about trying to make things work with the whole like romance system of trolls. Dave just does not give a fuck. Kanaya and Rose, if I'm remembering the names correctly, their interactions are always just nice. They each have their own sense of bloodlust and a bit of competitiveness towards each other, which I always enjoyed. Terezi and Dave were just always fun conversations because Dave was just they were just legitimately being themselves. Like Dave could just be a little shit pretty much. And just keep his ironic posting, and Terezi would just do her own thing. Like they were literally just it was so funny seeing them have a proper conversation, or just fun conversations, I guess, that they enjoyed, while keeping up like their like fun little quirks like to do to everyone else, but to them it wasn't like, how to put it. It was ironic, but it also wasn't at the same time. Like they could go like they could turn up their meters of like the bullshit conversations they usually do, and they could both keep up with each other. So I don't like that they're already saying, "Oh, Act One, that's when it was at its prime," and it could be a little tongue in cheek. But I don't think introducing the story like this was a good idea, because I already don't view the first few acts as like masterclass in writing. I think they're cool. I think it's interesting. Well, I think it's cool. I will say though, I kind of burned out with those first few acts. Like I think it was definitely after the trolls were introduced, like my interest like sparked back up. But it did feel just realized that two doubles, so I changed one of them. Almost good idea. Lecture, cool design. You want to do that? There's communication nonsense. Like, yeah, I already don't like that. Hopefully, it's just the author being a little tongue in cheek, but I already know the general reputation for Homestuck too. I mean, we even have this bingo card here. That does not fill me with the most confidence. And I can already see one of the big problems in this is that they're going to approach quote unquote more adult subjects, because Homestuck was like a kid's idea, Like it was just like for kids and teens. And so it's just going to start bringing them like some very weird and or very sensitive issues, just to increase its maturity level, I guess, is one way to put it. Kind of like how some kids, when they want to feel more mature, look more mature, they start swearing a bunch, and they just start saying everything's gay or everything, things like that. So that's already one thing. I'm just gonna say for free space, is sensitive / mature topics that aren't handled appropriately and just added to make itself seem edgier, or for the more older audience that can stomach it. They say fuck in the comic. They say fuck in this comic. Yeah, Carcat. I think the like Carcat. I don't know. I hope the author isn't of that mentality where we need to bring Carcat period. Yeah. Yeah, he is the mouth of a sailor. But it's funny. I love his rants. They're fun. He's just a little guy. He's just fun. And he's at his best when he's dealing with the bullshit of others. And it's, funny when the humans talk to him because they don't understand, like, the weird context of his society, just like he doesn't understand the weird context of humanity. uh, Channeling my full potential as an ascended player of hearts, I expand my consciousness, commune with the boundless force of collective willpower that is in the internet. My mind floods with divine potency. A million formless cries coalescence into a sequence of discrete, formal instructions. It is a maelstrom as chaotic as deafening, and yet, from this formless, interrupted spat of hate, hard, unembellished data, a singular suggestion takes form, as if bubbling up from a vast and infinite ocean of possibility. It is a whispered prayer to a compassionate God whose ears attends faithfully the will of his believers. Okay, let's see what you Chug Flux came up with. Now, if Homestuck 2 came after the epilogues, I think this would be everyone's mentality. Because apparently the epilogue goes even harder into the idea of bringing up topics that they really shouldn't have just for the sake of seeming for more older, sophisticated people or whatever, people who can, just more older people. Homestuck, you need to grow up with them, which, again, I think is dumb. If anything, it should have just been. I guess I do need to look into this. How Digimon Cyber Sleuth, when the interview came out, they said they wanted to grow up with the fan base, and they delivered a game that everyone, like a lot of people liked who were in Digimon. Like to me right now, it just feels like the story is a little more anime, but it's not like hitting anything like too dark or anything. It's just think kind of like Pokemon Red and Blue, and then Pokemon Coliseum / Gale of Darkness, where it evolved. It changed a few things up that people might not be used to. Story's also just a little more quote unquote serious, but like it's not to the point where it's just trying to be edgy cool. It's just, oh, that's kind of cool. Like, I mean, you could say the character for Coliseum is just edgy, but you're rescuing shadow Pokemon. Like, you're doing just a good thing. Like, yeah, your character looks edgy. He looks, cool, like the blue jacket with that arm thing he uses to snatch away Pokemon. But at the end of the day, he's saving Pokemon. Like, I don't know. Like, to me, that's just like kind of like continuing the theme of Pokemon, where it's like about friendship, becoming a team, working together. And you do that in Pokemon Coliseum and XD Gale of Darkness by, using Wind Battle. I think in the XD Gale of Darkness, you're given a few more options to purify the shadow forms, like by just taking them to the spa. I think giving them some like their favorite foods, if I remember correctly. I just know they added more mechanics, but essentially just kept the same themes. It didn't like start talking about like prostitution rings and like I like it. Literally, I could just think of most of the things that they talk about in like Yakuza Like a Dragon. They didn't start like hitting topics like that, going from like, oh yeah, friendship with Pokemon to uh the various crises that are affecting the Japanese citizens. Dirk, stop making Homestuck. You know what? You've convinced me. There's no way I'm fucking with this shit. I'm nobody's puppet, of course. Well, this is going to be a little fun we had together. I'll call back to simpler times. I just wanted to play a game, and you're going to be a part of it. That submission box is my olive branch. Dip tentatively and at arm's length into the trash furnace of creative potential known as online. But I should have known better. People think you can run a story like this. This must be just about the stupidest idea anyone's ever come up with. I'll have to make up the commands myself from here on out. Seemed to work okay for the other guy. See, that wasn't difficult. Seriously, what's wrong with you people? This is my private study on board the Thesis. A light-speed capable vessel built for tearing around the cosmos like there's no tomorrow. This is where I keep all of my prized artifacts, canonical keepsakes, and other assorted objects of historical and/or artistic pertinence. Some of these items were really hard to come by, requiring very creative use of my full faculty as an ascended harp player. The rest were just stolen from my friends' houses when they weren't looking. It's something they'll miss, though. I also keep my flora of the succulent persuasion in here, so I can keep an eye on them, make sure nobody's eating any. It's happened before. This is where I come when I want to sit and think about important plot details, which is pretty much any time I'm not training or lying down mad enfilades of philosophical shit with Rose. It's important to have things around to remind me of where we came from. History, despite its wretching pain, cannot be unalived, but its face of courage need not be alived again. Maya Angelou. The ship itself is being borrowed in perpetuity and has served as our home for the past 3 years. What's originally called Thesis, or anything else for that matter, the prior owner didn't really think that kind of thing was worth the effort, but I know better. Speaking of names, I've been workshopping potential designations for the new planet, which we apparently gonna crack this ship against like a bottle of champagne on the prow of a virgin steamer. I still need to talk it over with Rose, though. All right, what we got? Let's see. So I have his different outfits. We have the robot. I forget the name of it. Or, no, it used to be a doll. I think it was like Cal or something. I hate that I see the buff Bugs Bunny from Space Jam. Okay, which character owned it? Because Aridin liked buff horses, right? Not Aridin, fuck, what was his name? Terezi's wings. Equus? It was the guy who Nepeta like had a strong bond with. He's also the one that fused with Dave's right, if I remember right. Your mate's Brit. Yep. That's Aridin's gun. I think, yeah, Aridin's gun. That's his katana. What is that? Is that a... I'm seeing the anime, but I don't know what the anime is. Oh well. Contemplate equine iconography. Okay, we're starting for normal one. If this was in a house, I'd look at it and go, I googled the blue one, Homestuck, expecting an answer. Okay, if this was hanging in someone's house, I'd give it a second glance. But then I'd just be like, that's nice. That's a nice, like, this painting definitely adds color to the room. I look at it, I have a small chuckle, and I move on. And if someone were to say to me, hey, this isn't a funny piece, this is like serious to me, cool. I'm glad you actually hung it up. That's all I gotta say. I had a chuckle, but you take it seriously, it's whatever. I got it during the war. Beautiful, isn't it? A piece of this quality deserves nothing less than the pride of place in my private collection. Am I being sincere about it? Who the fuck can even say? A parting gift from an old flame. It was given to one of my splinters in a distant timeline before ending up in my possession via lots of complicated shit that I don't want to get into. This painting used to belong to one of the most powerful men in Earth's history, and now belongs to one of the few people ever to hold him in the palm of their hands. What? Divorced? I guess so? Parting gift from an old flame. Maybe I do need to go through the epilogues. Yeah, I mean, you and me, Demon Missouri, it's our first time going through this. I mean, you've heard more about it just through the grapevines. I truly do not know. Besides, Dirk is done dirty throughout the whole thing. It came with a note which has ever since been misplaced, but I know the words by heart. Dear Dirk, in memory of our precious time together, when you look up at it, think of me and be reminded that while we breathe, we hope. B.O. Nothing comes to mind. If B.O., I'm just gonna call him Borat. I'm gonna move on. Bad odor. Yeah. For half a second, I was like, what am I hearing? And then the oh, very nice. Nah, this is face paint. Not for painting pictures, unless those pictures have to be on a face, I guess. This set of paints and the charred remains of my horned headband are the only surviving relics of the first and last worldwide interspecies role-playing session we ever attempted on Earth C. I feel like that could have gone fine. You know, if both of you were willing to commit, but no. Ah, yes. Calliope, you know, because you want her troll Sona. Calliope got into their head that dressing up in cosplay would be a fun community activity. Mantis had some very uncharitable things to say about the idea, and for once in his life, I think he was right. This thing was an unmitigated disaster from start to finish, a complete bloodbath. Mantis? I spent months perfecting my character. Countless late nights were devoted to scrupulously studying the intricacies of old Alternian culture. Every inch of my body was coated in cloying, meticulously sealed gray paint. Yes, even there. I know you were thinking it. Penis. It was the perfect troll soda. I was a high blood called. No, on second thought, let's not get into it. Some things are too painful to remember. I don't. Uh, I I think it would have been fine, genuinely, if they did this. I mean, you have Nepeta and her mate Sprit, like, and they and the guy kept fumbling when Nepeta's like, all right, we can keep rolling, whatever. 3 years is no small amount of time. While I spent a lot of it in pursuit of greater understanding of combat and philosophy, that doesn't mean there wasn't room for life and love in the equation too. Plants are basically the ideal friends. They don't constantly question your decisions or try and undermine your authority or suggest that perhaps you should try talking about your feelings every one. You know, you think Dirk would have learned something from his talk with Dave, you know, and also the whole shit show that was them trying to become god tiers. You would think, from the lessons he learned in the story and kind of acknowledged that it wouldn't just be in another, continuation of it. He up and goes, I shouldn't talk about my feelings, or, you know, should my decisions be questioned when, you know, his plans in Act 6 didn't go as well as he thought because he learned the hard way that he was powerless. Like, is the idea that, oh, hey, now that he has this omniscient role, like, he just now kind of like has a power, kind of like how in this beautiful comment I saw for Down the Rabbit Hole dares to ask the very pertinent question: how little power does it take to corrupt someone? Is that what we're trying to hit right now? Where it's like, oh, because Dave's in charge, or because Dirk is in charge of the story now, uh, he just kind of forgot all about those lessons because now he's in charge. And no, I don't think you get to do that. I mean, they did, but you're not clever. I am expecting these videos to get me copyright strike just because I have been very harsh against the author so far. Is this a why moment? No, I don't think so just yet. I mean, yes, but there's also me like reading too much. I think my bias is starting to show because of what I've heard. I'll keep going. Or perhaps suggest that you should try talking about your feelings every once in a while. Plants lie down in the dirt and take it, metaphorically speaking. I've genetically enhanced these succulents to make them more hardy in a low gravity environment. They all got drastically discolored as a side effect, but frankly, they look better like this. The downside is that I'm not the only person who's taken a liking to them. And speaking of which, delicious houseplants. Oh, god damn it. You should have seen your face. It was plain as day and featureless as ever. Just like the clawing tang on your overbearing oranges pose. How does it feel to be dancing to someone else's tune for a change, you poofy pantsed pomegranate princeling? Trezzy, always a pleasure. I see you found the command terminal. Please feel free to stop fucking around with it right about now. You're messing things up before we even get started. Hmm. 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 I wasn't finished. Hmm. Hmm. I've considered your generous offer very carefully, but I'm afraid I'll actually have to decline. Put yourself in my shoes, Dirk. Except don't actually do that because I don't want you to sully these delicious rad slippers with your sulfurous ninja feet. It seems to me like letting me boss you around for a few minutes is the least you could do to make up for what probably amounts to the most boring intergalactic voyage in the history of space travel. And considering that one of my two prior experiences involved uh, scouring the fractured, disintegrating corpse of Paradox Space for what felt like an eternity, it's not like there was much of a high bar to clear. There is only so many times a girl can sniff her way through the in-flight selection of East Earth animation before she gets sick of the smell. I'm sorry to hear that. Although, in fairness, you came along on your own volition. It's not my fault that you're in low to your expectations. This a That's a lie so filthy that just smelling it makes me want to throw up in the nearest toilet. I had very little say in this matter. We both know that you manipulated me into it with your princely wiles. Princely wiles. Are you flirting with me? Is this a collisionist thing you're going for here? Ew, no. I'm flattered, but I don't really go for aliens. Or girls. Or alien girls, for that matter. Two yucks don't make a yum. I'll keep going. Excuse me while I wipe the spittle off my chin from another impromptu barp fest. I'm talking about your Genesis frog-sized inability to shut up, which seems to have somehow reached a mass so critical it's opened up 4 wormholes in the fabric of reality itself. You start doing that thing again, and it's completely insufferable. Oh, sorry. I forgot how easy it is for you to pick up on it. Imagine that I'm standing right next to you, Therese, right next to you, with 4 megaphones pressed snugly up against your invulnerable uh, oral protrusion. Now imagine I proceed to drub you senseless with said megaphones, and then direct an apology at your slumped, twitching body through it. That is what whatever you're doing feels like. It's less that I can pick up on it, and more that it insults my very consciousness. You have all the subtlety of four-culling fork to the thorax exoskeleton plateau, and it hardly surprising that I can hear you so clearly. How do you mean? I just assumed it's because you're a seer. It seemed appropriate somehow that you'd be able to sense these kinds of things. Well, that's pretty obviously wrong shit for specs. If it was because I'm a seer, then how come Rose doesn't know about it too? I mean, maybe she does. If so, she's somehow putting on the best act I've ever seen. No, I'm pretty sure it's because of our aspects. What, heart and mind? Mind and heart, yes. The two of us are opposites, right? And when it comes to the aspects, opposite pairs effectively define each other on four fundamental levels: mind and heart, time and space. They're all two sides of the same coin, or I guess 12 sides of the same 6 coins. Sounds complicated. Oh, fuck off. I know you're playing dumb to antagonize me. Well, I'm an antagonist now. That's what I do. Oh my god, get over yourself. I'm begging you. What are you even doing right now? It's a bit hard to explain. If you're so bored, maybe you can help me. Maybe you can help me out here. We can play a little game. I just need you to submit a few instructions into the terminal. Your wishes will be my command. So you just want me to like dom you with this command station for a while? If you wanted to phrase in a way more calculated to awaken the hair triggers psychoanalytic instincts of my slime daughter, then yes, I suppose you could say that. Oh dear, let's not rouse that sleeping pride beast just yet. Motion fucking second. Look, I'm not asking for much, just a little light action and prayers for the road ahead. Nothing too far off the wall. You're a strange and funny girl, Trezzy, but you're less likely to discern others to leave the equivalent of a steaming pile of horse manure in the submission box. Consider this sum of executive power over my actions a planet warming gift. Spend it wisely. Well, Mr. Strider, your generosity knows no bounds, but I'm afraid you can't have another command just yet. You haven't completed the one I already gave you. What? Looking at these plants? I already did that. Inspecting them good and fucking proper. Look, they've gone bright pink from how hard I've been scrutinizing them. They all seem perfectly fine. Wait, eat the plant, boy. Eat the plant, plant eater. Computer. Enhance. Motherfucker. Okay, we can move on now. I'm not sure I can move on. Some betrayals are just too painful. We've both gotten over worse. Yeah, fair enough. What's that little table next to you? That's not really a command, but okay. This is my katsu, a Japanese-style low table. A small heater is hidden under the repurposed blanket and can be used to keep warm in the coldest month. In the freezing depths of interstellar space, however, this is basically all the time, so the heater is always on. I like to sit here when I'm drawing or reading. It's pretty cozy. On top is a drawing tablet, and over there is my katana. It's said that the pen is mightier than the sword. I like to think that they're both situationally dependent weaponry. I like to think that If a nerd is giving you trouble, shove them in the locker to remind them of their place. If a jock gives you trouble, bury them under paperwork, preferably legal, and remind them the world doesn't work that way. You see, kids, you have to adapt to the situation at hand. Sheesh, okay, I didn't ask for your entire sordid history of this adorable little piece of furniture or your dumb philosophical musings. Hey, I think that's my tablet. Don't look at me. That things could be anyone's. Liberate. Want Londian Library? That was that one was a bit alliterative, but I think you're getting the hang of it. You want me to pick up this book, right? Does Rowan know you've been using one of her novels to prop up that disgustingly tacky chair? I'm still not an expert on Earth family etiquette, but that doesn't seem all that polite to me. Well, no. Have you read it? Yes. Well, at least I tried to. She gave me a copy too once. She finished working on it last week. As far as books go, it's very dense. Just dense enough to support the weight of my Baroque furniture, perhaps. God, even your silly book about horses is an easier read. And I had to get Rose to explain what half of it even meant. Specifically, all those references to ancient Earth culture. I guess some of the magic is lost if you're not adequately boned the fuck up on several thousand years of human philosophy in like 4 dead languages. True. No, I meant the memes. Remember Long Cat Jane? Completely incomprehensible. I capture the book into my MSPA modus. Forget hash maps, Pictionary, any of that shit. This thing is where it's at. What the hell? That chair is supposed to fall over. I'm not sure I understand. Why would it? The 4 legs are all touching the floor. Try not to think about it too hard. I mean, yes, he's right. I hate it, but he's right. Scream like a wiggler and tidy your desk. Well, if you insist. Dirk, you're not making this any fun at all. You're supposed to make a big deal out of not doing this one. Okay, why? Because shut up is why. I don't know. Something told me that it'd be the most inappropriate course of action for you to take based on the instruction. Appropriate. Maybe that's not the right word. Maybe it was just the thing that seemed funniest in the moment. Like I was setting you up for a joke and you didn't even deliver. I wouldn't say I didn't deliver exactly. I just wasn't the joke you were expecting it. It just wasn't the joke you were expecting it to be when you started telling it. Some of the best jokes are like that. For someone who claims to be a lot about jokes, you sure have continued to say basically nothing funny ever. I'm not sure I can even imagine you smiling. Maybe your face would fall off if you tried. If so, it might be just the first funny thing that's ever happened to you. Ha ha. You know, I actually kind of resent the idea that I don't know how to loosen up or have fun. Basically, everyone thinks that about me, but they're wrong. It's just that the kind of fun I'm naturally predisposed to is rather intense. Not many really understand that when pleasure is taken seriously enough, it can easily mimic the appearance of business, just as when irony is practiced with enough passion becomes indistinguishably from sincerity. Moi, la hold. Do you want to talk about it? Absolutely the fuck not. Okay, what even is all that stuff just lying around all over there anyway? Are you arranging a shitty little art gallery on the floor? Not quite. Something a bit more important than that. We made some good progress by now. So, here, let me show you something. Smell this, Trezzy? This is a panel. Okay. Can you tell what's depicting? Hang on. You need to get closer to the screen. Huh. No good. I'm having a hard time making it out over the delectable rug you're standing on. That's right. This actually helps me illustrate my point. The panel is a drawing of me drawing the panel is a drawing of me showing the panel to you. Now, what did I do there? Dropped it back on the floor again. Yeah, but in the panel, I'm still just standing there holding it up. In order to communicate what I did to anyone watching, you need another panel to show the result. Or I suppose they could listen in on the conversation we're having right now and infer that I dropped it from what we're saying. That could also work. In that case, the words provide the information that the picture would have done, without me having to pull a whole new panel out of my ass just so that someone can confirm that yes, I did in fact drop the panel on the floor. That's the one thing I always found difficult about making comics with Dave. You have to draw everything. Exactly. But sometimes visuals are just a more effective way of doing things. So finding the right combination of words and pictures to communicate an idea effectively is where the artistry lies. And sometimes that means dispensing of one or the other entirely when appropriate. Ooh, baby. Like so. Not again. Oh, simmer down. What I'm trying to communicate to Teresa here is that you don't really need a panel to show anything at all for a given beat of the story. Obviously, most of you know this already, since lots of stories get by just well without a single visual element. For the sake of precedent, I'm saying that we can cloak the visuals entirely and continue with narration alone, replacing the panel with a block of text like this, which we can call a prattle from now on. Such a device will be vital going forward, and so I dedicate some time at the outset to acclimatize you to its effects. Its purpose is extremely practical. Things have been going a little slowly for a while, but now we see how much we're able to accomplish with just a few short statements. Terezi begins feeling a bit impatient with all this metaphysical discussion and decides to turn her energy back towards the most noble of pursuits, pranksterism. She starts sending a constant stream of rapid-fire commands through the terminal, her fingers fluttering over the keys like... I'm just going to say this. Just make a visual novel at that point. Just make a visual novel at this point, if this is what you're going to do. You can get away with a character's having a few sprites, and I'm pretty sure... I mean, what is it? Give me a second. Not past request. What did we just finish again? Hive swap. It's light novel-ish, but you can literally just make not visual novel. I mean visual novel. You can kind of consider Hive Swap a visual novel. No. Friend Sim is kind of a visual novel, but you could get away with just drawing a few sprites, and then some backgrounds, and then just laying the fucking text on. Like, I know this is supposed to be a continuation of Homestuck, but like, if this genuinely was what they wanted to do, and they were gonna have, decisions or conversations or whatever, or decisions, I should say, branching paths, this would have worked out probably better as an actual legitimate visual novels where, again, background, like some very simple sprites that can be used for many situations, essentially, and then just slam the text on top of the fuckers. And then just make it so that when text is on screen, you have a decently transparent black background on top of everything, and then the text. So that you can still see the background. It's just tinted a bit, and then your text is easier to read. Like, cool. You're just slipping in like justification to do text over this, and it's just like, okay. My idea probably would have been a little harder, maybe. I don't know. I would hate for the idea that I'm actually able to program this relatively easily. I would hate if that's actually the case of it wouldn't be that hard for me to do something like this, because then it's like you had no excuse. Because then you can just do the thing that Ryokishi did for Higurashi and Umineko, mainly just Higurashi. I think it's, well, let's just use Higurashi for the example, where when a part's done, just ship it, and then just do the same thing with the next part. That's how Umineko worked as well, I think, where I think at first it was every episode was its own CD or a download, and then he made like all the games into either the questions or answers. I think he may even released a version that was all of them. I think for Umineko, I think it was like the game itself, then you download the other parts. I actually don't remember because I read it when everything was done. Yeah, no. I don't know why I'm still stuck on this. I don't know why I'm also feeling like in anger. But the rage? Do we have? I don't know. It's like I don't know if I'm feeling. Is there actually why did they do that? Yeah, no, this is a good why did they do that? I think, yeah, you could put why'd they do that. Let's see. For the sake of present, I'm going to start cloak the visuals entirely and continue with the narration alone, replacing the panel with a block of text like this so we can call it Prattle from now on. Such a device will be vital going forward, and so I dedicate some time at the outset to acclimatizing to its specs. Its purpose is extremely practical. Things would have been going a little slowly for a while, but now we see how much we're able to accomplish with just a few short statements. Teresa begins feeling a bit impatient of all this metaphysical discussion and decides to turn her energy back towards the most noble of pursuits. Pranksterism. She starts sending a constant stream of rapid-fire commands through the terminal, her fingers fluttering over the keys like the wings of 1,000 migratory monarch butterflies. Not monarch! I was not going to resist that. I had to do it because I enjoy doing that. And as quickly as I spring into action, performing every last one of her instructions to the letter, no matter how brazen, physically strenuous, or narratively questionable. Oh, it's just that. Okay. The layout of the entire room is rearranged, furniture is overturned, books are defaced, and posters desecrated. Objects are picked up, put down, discarded, combined, separated, and ejected from Celadexes in all manners of directions. Terezi's debasements aren't confined merely to fucking around with the upholstery. Oh no. Her commands start to take a turn toward the slapstick. Pratfalls, feats of contortion, and increasingly ridiculous facial expressions are called for. She has made me undertake the most intense workout routine Paradox Space has ever seen. All the while whistling the entire discography of the Swedish pop group ABBA, which she's taken a liking to recently for some godforsaken reason, and which coincidentally was a favorite cultural weapon of her Imperious convalescence back on Earth centuries ago. Mamma Mia in particular was repurposed as a sugar-coated propagandist piece, calling for a worldwide submission to the Batter Witch's dictatorship. My, how can I resist ya, as the old saying goes. Various arcane and legendary dances are exhumed from the tomb of iniquity and performed with anachronistically reckless abandon on every horizontal surface available. The Charleston, the mashed potato, all the numbers from Riverdance in alphabetical order. Then I'm instructed to sit smack in the middle of the carpet, begin slapping myself silly. Just absolutely go all in and hold nothing back. Stop hitting yourself. Trezzy crackles as for 30 interrupted minutes I obediently clobber myself in the face till my cheeks are glowing brighter than the heart emblazoned on my chest. You're welcome. I hate it. I don't know why. I just hate it. Heh, that was pretty good. See? I told you. I told you I could have fun. Yeah, you sure showed me, I guess. I'm glad I got to watch it all through the screen, too, since I would never have believed you actually did it all otherwise. Even though I still have no fucking clue what it is we've even been doing here. Can you just hurry it up so we can finally get off this ship? Come to think of it, maybe I could end this right now by typing the right command. I'd rather you didn't. It would be an elegance. Why do we even have to do this thing anyway? I thought they were for exiles to use. Well, normally they are, and normally those are the only people who would ever use them. A terminal's function is to act as a means of communication between two disparate parts of a time loop, a passage through which information can travel that aids in such a loop's successful completion. And if in the context of the game, I lost the game, that's all they're used for. But beyond that, there's a convenient and effective means of subtle psychic suggestion at a distance. Doesn't seem all that subtle to me. Well, no, it's not. At least not for us right now. But that's because your presence as a guiding influence has been revealed. Earlier, when I hadn't revealed you were there, it was more difficult to discern. I could have gone for quite a while not realizing the instructions were anything other than spontaneous ideas from my own imagination, if you hadn't gotten too greedy. What can I say? They're called succulents for a reason, and apparently that reason is that they're just so delicious. No, I mean, you started being too obvious. Your personality bled through to an extent that was impossible to ignore, and so the spell was broken. But if someone with a lot of skill gives it a try, there's no reason why you couldn't keep providing commands indefinitely with with a commandee none the wiser. Well, on second thought, that sure sounds sinister as shit. In the wrong hands, maybe. But don't worry. It's just part of the plan. The evil plan. Evil's a very reductive word. I prefer to think of it as a regular ass plan. Is all the other stuff in here part of the regular ass plan then? Something like that. There's a whole lot of junk. Wow. I haven't even smelled some of this garbage and sweeps. Oh wait, is that well, everything here is so dusty. That's what you get for nosing around in our secret storeroom. I'd ask you not to contaminate the ectobiology equipment of your own genetic material, but yeah, too late for that. Whatever, I'm not about to clean it anyway. I don't see what's so secret about this plan anyway. I mean, there are only three of us on the ship. It's not like there's anyone to even hide things from. Or anything worth hiding for that matter. What's this thing over in the corner? Underneath this big sheet thing. Don't look in there. Oh, I'm only taking a peek. Trezzy, listen to me. I'm just lifting up the cover a little ways. Trezzy, please stop talking right now. Derek, holy shit. What? Trezzy stops talking immediately, her mind suddenly free of any and all inclination to take a look at what's behind the curtain. What curtain? In fact, she was quite certain there has never been, and never will be, any object covered by fabric located anywhere in the room. You asshole. I did ask you to stop. Okay, actually, fuck this. What am I doing here? Why am I wasting my time watching you run around in your stupid room full of trash talking to yourself? I've got a ship to crash. She turns towards the door and walks out, has the command section down the hallway and into the control room, where she begins the necessary preparation for taking the Thesis out of orbit and down to the planet below. Dirk, get this show on the road. tidying all done. In a manner of speaking, I've given Frezzy the all clear, or I guess it's just pissed her off enough to kick this whole thing off once for all. Okay, so I guess today is finally the day everything's been heading towards. You could put it like that, yeah. At least we're aiming to frame it that way. Our action from this point will form part of a crucial inner mechanism tucked away behind the tightly sealed metallic service hatch of reality. One which will be out of our own creation, but which, by all practical considerations, might as well have been always there. And if we're successful, the distinction won't be significant enough to matter to just about anybody. They'll be too busy getting their minds' dicks collectively blown. Would you say that we're imploring people to suck on this? Oh, absolutely. Get the hand illuminated invitations ready for the fucking double. On the fucking double. Hilarious, phalatoid, imaginary, notwithstanding, there's something about today that feels exciting. I can understand that. We've been waiting a long time. I was going to say portentous, with both the positive and negative connotation that word usually has. You've got misgivings then? I wouldn't even go as far to call it that. When I'm feeling it's hard to explain to someone whose being is not inextricably linked with the very concept of fortune. The sensation probably doesn't even have a name, come to think about it. Not too many people have ever been in our position before. Just about none, I'd bet. Right. But if I had to describe it, I'd say the misgiving, hunches, doubts, and so are on supported on a foundation of unknowing. Along with that absence of knowledge comes commensurate feeling of dread or worry, fear about the potential calamity yet to come. On the other hand, while feelings of positive anticipation also tend to stem from a lack of certainty about the future, presumption of good fortune allows the uncertainty to become excitement. It's the glee of a child who knows not what the gift contains, but can evaluate from prior experience that it's likely to be something good. Can't emphasize, Derek, you're tragically capable of sucking all joy and congenial sentiment out of basically every situation you find yourself in. Thanks. Anyway, this feeling you're talking about, I take it that we're not dealing with either giddy enthusiasm or paranoid foreboding then? No, my point is that the present moment feels like neither of those two cases, but crucially, it's not because there's nothing to anticipate. Far from it. Instead, it feels like the very notion of fortune is simply out of the question as a means of describing the potential outcome, as though in this moment, luck isn't either strictly real or not real, or somewhere in between, but absent of meaning entirely and completely. Luck took one look at our itinerary from here on out and said, "You'll just have to go on without me." Luck rolled over the other side of the dictionary and said, "Not tonight, sweetheart. I've got a wicked fucking headache." Exactly. Except now I'm the one with the migraine. Well, whatever that means, it doesn't sound good. I don't know what that robot. I didn't even know that robots could get headaches. I'd say it's even more of an ontological existential headache, but that's already describes basically everything that's ever happened to us until now, and also sounds as fake as shit. Is there nothing I can say that take the weight off your mind? For what it's worth, I think we got this plan running at a level experts might describe as pretty solid. We've scanned for suburban technology, so we know for sure that this is the right planet. Wheels are already in motion and all that. This thing is on lockdown, hermetically sealed even. Shit's tighter than a pair of English-occupied micro shorts. You aren't going to believe this, but it turns out that the deranged 20 ramblings of a spurred anime obsessive have essentially no therapeutic properties whatsoever. And contrary to common wisdom, talking about the problem doesn't seem to have eased my state of mind either. I doubt you could say anything that'd make me feel better. If anything, I feel worse now than I already did. It's like the notion I was trying to describe was so conceptually insubstantial, so resistant to concrete definition of my meaningful frame of reference, that even thinking about it as an idea made me somehow existentially unsound. Not in the way that I used to feel back before John made the choice to validate our canonical existences automatically. Foreboding I can deal with. I'm a seer. Soups are mine to say, but this is different. Hello, Pivot. Well, it's talking about it didn't help. Well, if talking about it didn't help, maybe talking about how it felt to talk about it might adjust a large problem geometrically. Fair point. Despite what you thinks. Despite what she thinks, Little by little, Rose begins to feel her head clear of concern, some Semitically dubious or otherwise. Her understanding of my ascended existence doesn't include this degree of meta-narrative potency. I am at work doing very important business, but I want to listen because FOMO runs my schedule. Pivot, you don't have to be worried. This is going on YouTube later. I'm recording. Well, doesn't matter. All right. Her understanding of my ascended existence doesn't include this degree of meta-narrative potency, so her doubts at my words' healing powers are understandable. I don't take it personally. For someone whose sense of self is so boundless and infinite as an ascended prince of hearts, the fact that I'm able to perceive something in any way other than personal might come as a surprise. But then again, taking things in stride is basically my whole deal at this stage. You might even call it my namesake. Haha, Strider. Oh, sorry. You know what? I'm leaving that burp in for the recording. I'm putting my foot down. That stays. That's vital. Also, I just thought of something. I'm going to bring it up later, though. And so, it's with a stony expression of implacable calm that I endured the increasingly violent tremors now coursing through the thesis as it begins to breach the new planet's stratosphere. Vibrations unruly enough to churn even the most adamant of stomachs to a nauseous froth. With brow unfurrowed and mouth pixel perfectly horizontal, I would stand the spasmodic adjustments and course corrections, which together comprised the rambunctious intergalactic road rage of a chaotic, lawful alien woman with a ferocious appetite for alchemically discolored ornamental plants. All manner of shit goes tumbling helplessly to the floor, walls, ceilings, and I don't even seem to bat an eyelid. Or maybe that's just because my shades are in the way. In the face of impossible stupidity, I am as unfazed as ever. Such a funny man, Pivot, pointing German to the sheep. Because while the external world roils and heaves and shits itself like nothing else, there's one thing that I can always count on. As you know, I have many splinters. So many I used to find it overwhelming to contemplate them all. Depressing, actually. It was a feeling I could never escape from. The feeling that my sense of self was limitless. That I was forced to exist as a small facet of my own potential, while drowning in an ocean of my greater persona, and all the terrible things I was fully capable of. I was trapped as a limited version of myself, who was still burdened by the concern of what it meant to be good, struggling to keep himself from drowning in an overwhelming body of potential which had no concern for human morality whatsoever. Well, that struggle finally ended a few years ago. My head isn't fighting to stay in the water any. My head isn't fighting to stay above the water anymore. There isn't even a metaphorical head to speak of. I'm only the water now. It's proven to be an immensely comforting way for me to exist. It reminds me of the feelings I had during long nights alone, looking out over the dark ocean which surrounded me, the ocean that effectively raised me, because nothing else was around to do it. During those lonely nights, I spent many hours wondering what would happen. What would even be the difference if I jumped in and never came up? If I simply disappeared? And now I finally have. I've disappeared into the infinity of myself, and I am magnificent. I was trapped as a limited version of myself who was still burdened by the concern of what it meant to be good, struggling to keep myself from drowning in an overwhelming body of potential which had no concern for human morality whatsoever. Okay, so they just made Dirk a bastard then, is all I'm getting. Where if it's for the greater good, it doesn't matter. And then now they brings up the terminal and how he can influence people potentially without being noticed. Uh I don't know. It just feels like a load of horse shit. You know, a massive load. What's the noise that I'm hearing? Sounds a little like a cat being caught in a ventilation fan. A sort of inhuman screeching combined with the grinding of metal. Are we even gonna make it to the ground? Oh no, the ship's fine as far as I can tell. That's just Terezi's laugh. That's just Terezi laughing. Oh, she's enjoying this, isn't she? I suppose so. Ha, ha. What? The mood is kind of infectious, actually. I suppose it's about time we had a little more fun around here. Glad to hear it. Rose? Yes, Dirk. How do you feel about games? Chapter 1, Flusters? Ghost Flusters? Uh, I wouldn't mind editing it there. I'll just read this little opening for chapter 1. The void resounds, space seizes and warps as the bounds of relevance erode away to nothing but the wistful nostalgia of time past. There is a hole in the middle of the universe, and it is hungry, but the denizens of this particular iteration of Earthsea don't know it. All this is just business as fucking usual for the planet plagued by war. Continuous, inclement ghost weather. The general malaise of being absolutely severed from canon. They spent their days absorbed in the petty and pointless pursuits of having jobs and raising families and falling in love and not slandering characters. In the midst of this, a middle-aged man kneels in the garden. It isn't his garden, and he already has a name, but we will begin our story of him regardless. Plants, Jake has decided, are really the best sort of chums. They are quiet, friendly, and easy to please. All they need is a little water and fresh earth, and they are perfectly happy to lie there all day in the sun. They don't make increasingly inhuman arms deals and appear on talk shows expounding on the dangers of interspecies marriage, and never, as Jake Snow, fucked a clown. 3 dots, yeah. I mean, one of them is free space, so that's always there. Dangers of interspecies marriage. What was that? Was that Dirk who said that? Uh, all right. My current thoughts so far. I'm glad I read this little intro to chapter 1 because I can already see how it doesn't go downhill. Who the fuck made the argument that interspecies marriage is dangerous? And who fucked a clown? And am I actually going to have to remember things from the epilogues for this? I might have to. Is this a why moment? Yeah, no, this is definitely a fucking why moment right now. Why the fuck is this being brought up? All right, I'm just gonna say it. No one fucked Gamzee, all right? Unless they introduce some new clown fucker, no one fucked Gamzee. And if they're insinuating that Gamzee fucked a clown or Dirk fucked a clown, I'm gonna tell you to fuck off. Ruined dynamic. Could you consider Dirk and Jake a ruined dynamic? They're already a weird couple, I guess, in Homestuck. And also from like the last few pages of Homestuck, it seemed like they got together. They like made up their any issues they had off screen, essentially. I know some people were really iffy on that, from what I could read about Jake's and Dirk's relationship because manipulation, and all of that. It just feels like they're kind of taking What if that is the case where the authors of this just decided to take the like more negative aspects of the characters and then say, oh yeah, they definitely built up to that despite some some of the issues that people were having or some of the issues characters were facing, they kind of got resolved. Because I don't know if the conversation between Dirk and also for anyone still listening to the VOD, you could probably tell how long this goes on after I finish reading. But yeah, no, this is just my thoughts so far, kind of recapping what I think of what I've read. Um, Not enough to go off, but I already don't like some of the things they want to do. I don't like that they're also making Dirk have the ability to influence people, and that it seems like it kind of accepts the role of an antagonist. Maybe this is the idea of like he's trying to spur on a protagonist to do something about like the problems in the universe right now, with the whole paradox time space thing. So he accepts the role as villain, for the greater good, that he's actually a good guy, but he needs to take on the role of the villain to make the story progress. Because if we don't have a villain, there can't really be a hero, something like that. I just don't believe Dirk would want to be in position of trying to manipulate anymore. I feel like they may try to justify by saying that him breaking up with Jake like led him down the dark path again, and that he made this mistake or whatever, and that he's just going back to what he knows. I just feel that the talk that Dirk had with Dave kind of would have made it seem like, or would have brought to his attention that he doesn't know everything, that an alternate version of Dirk already tried to be a master, like tactician, manipulator, whatever, and it didn't work out, and that people just got resentful of him, especially Dave. And Dirk understood that, well, this Dirk wasn't him. It was still him in a sense. So at this point, it's just how do they justify things for why they're going the way that they are, and working from there, I guess. Again, they just keep bringing up like weird yellow flags to me as warnings of like, this is like, why are we doing this? But I am truly excited to see. And who knows? Maybe I won't hate it as much as other people. Maybe I won't. Even if maybe if they make, Dirk the second coming of whatever your favorite dictator in history was, who caused millions of people to die. Maybe we were like, oh hey, the story wasn't that bad. Who knows? Who fucking knows? I don't. So, Demon Xeory Pivot, I hope you enjoyed this first reading of Chapter 0. I am definitely... I can't wait to see how they do Dirk dirty. And also, for some reason, Rose isn't a robot. That may be because of the epilogues, but yeah, we will see. I'm going to explode. This was a hard listen. What made it a hard listen for you? As the Homestuck reader of all time, the way it opened up was a bit much. Yeah. I feel like just wait a moment, that was a bit much. I feel like the way with how Homestuck started, it was a fun webcomic. It felt like you were meeting these kids, watching them as they hung out and interact and go on this RPG style adventure. Yeah? And with this it feels like, well, we're already here. I think how to put this. I guess we just literally just go back to the start. Like the first few pages, then it's monologues about it, shitting about how the story went and all of that, trying to go back nostalgia of Act One, how that went, how it's trying to right the wrongs, I guess you could say. I think I really okay. I'm gonna mention as a tangent so you can kind of get how I'm feeling. I really liked how new Penny Stocking starts. It has been about I think they either say it's been 5 minutes or 5 seconds since the ending of season one all those years ago. But they said, yeah, with all this turmoil going on and this sense of time flipping past us, I can dare say, looks at watch, it's been like 5 minutes. And like they could have opened up with like John just on the couch, just looking at the TV, and like we just get like some glimpses of like how's the fucking chess people doing? How are they integrating? How are the chess people getting along with trolls and humans all mingling together? Nothing too serious. Just literally like just have John like have a quest of, oh, you're making sandwiches later today. Go pick up bread from the bakery, and like that's our nice little introduction to like how things have progressed or whatever. Um, because I think that would be a decent step up if you want to quote unquote, like grope for your audiences. Like literally start off like the mundane thing of, oh, you need to get the game from, the mail because Dave just sent it to you. Your bestest pal who's really cool and ironic. Where, oh, John's grown up. What does he have to do now? Oh, he has to go get some groceries because he got to make some food later today because maybe they're going to a picnic later. Or they gotta do the laundry and like they gotta try to fix it, but because they're working with Alternian tech, because now Alternian tech is integrated into society more or less. I still don't know why Dave is cool. He just is. Okay, pivot. Like it's either you get it or you don't, and you're not with it. And if you're not with it, you're just out of it. Then again, I keep reading to read. You have so many things you want to do, Pivot. And I understand you're a free spirit, but you gotta make a schedule for yourself. I'm like, okay, I want to do like 30 minutes of like frontline and then get on to play Reverse 1999 to use all my stamina. And then in Arknights, spend like maybe half an hour, 15 minutes trying to progress through a map and then call it quits. If I can't do it, to spend my stamina on getting some like build up material. Your life is full of wonder. You're a free spirit, Pivot. You truly are. You are an irrational number. And I want you to wear that proudly. Because remember, we wouldn't figure out the dimensions of a triangle without irrational numbers. All right? So you keep being you, champ. Yeah, no, it feels like this. We're nostalgia. Well, we're kind of nostalgia baiting. We're saying maybe some of the sentiments had that people were like, "Oh, Act 6 wasn't worth it at all because of how long we had to wait for everything." And I saw an interview, or I watched a video where it talked about some of the answers that Hussey gave to an interview, where apparently the reveal of Lord English was not really well liked by a lot of people. But Hussey said that if his original plan for Homestuck went through, where it only took like maybe a year or two to get through Homestuck, that people would have looked at Lord English and been like, yeah, that's cool, that makes sense. But because the webcomic had been going on for so long, so many things were being added, there was just so much hype around Lord English that people were disappointed. And because I was able to just go through Homestuck, I thought the reveal of Lord English was cool. Everything that kept, popping up, I was just like, this is really cool. This is really awesome. But with like anything, when you have a lot of time between things, people start building expectations. And, you're not, I can't really say they're wrong for it. They're excited for it. Their mind starts going all over the place. They start getting excited. So would you call this wasted potential? I'm not going to say that just yet, but we should definitely keep that in the back of our minds for next week when I read this. Because chapter 1, with Jake being in a more or less normal area, it's an exercise in freedom of speech. What is? I don't know. I'm just talking out my ass. I just got here. You also haven't read Homestuck, so welcome, Pivot, to Homestuck 2. I'm going to fucking say, welcome to your introduction to Homestuck, I guess. Yes, Demon Xeory, it's only been one episode and we already did it. Someone's first exposure to Homestuck is Homestuck 2. We fucking did it, Reddit. I'm so proud of us. Can't believe I still forgot to read Homestuck. Give him the same timeline as me, where all of a sudden, like, it'll be 3 or 4 years, and he'll just finish in, like, a week, and he'll be like, yeah, I know, I'm done. And everyone's just gonna be like, what? I feel like if us starting here, all the build it did, I just feel like it's the wrong way to do it. Where we can't go back to when they were young kids, or we can't have that kind of start, but we can still have a start to them of being like introduced to like how they are now, essentially. Like, oh, hey, after all the adventures, like, are they still the same? Are they a bit different? And we just gauge that by having just them doing some mundane tasks like they did at the start of Homestuck. And that's really all it is at that point. I wouldn't call it wasted potential, but it very much might be, depending on how the story goes. Again, I already know people don't like it. I already know I've kind of jumped the gun on going at his throat a bit. So we'll see. Yeah, I will. For anyone listening who wasn't here for the live reading, I'm going to end it here. Thank you for listening. Be sure to let me know how wrong I am about everything in the comments below. And yeah, just have a good day, really. All right, recording stops now.